academia to industry. And as most of you might know, I'm MK and I'm a data scientist at Amazon. And I joined Amazon at April 2021. And if we could move to others in the next slide, I would go a little bit about my education. So I had a pleasure to do my PhD at Mississippi State University, and I graduated in June 2019. And Dr. Maroof was one of the committee members there as well. And as it was a great pleasure to working with him as well. And at the same time, I was doing PhD. I did my master in statistics at Mississippi State University as well. And before that, I started my PhD in Mississippi State University. I did master and bachelor in industrial and system engineering in Sharif University of Technology back in Iran from 2018 to 2015. So this is a brief info about my education. And next slide, please. So, and how after graduation things developed, it was pretty interesting experience from academia to industry. And I started as a machine learning engineer in Silicon Valley in a startup company called andI in July 2019. And later on, I was in a dilemma between industry and academia, and I decided to take an academic job as assistant professor of business analytics at Colorado Mesa University. And at the same time, I just talked to my previous company. I'm going to, this is just try and error. So, but if you're interested, I could stay as a consultant of machine learning engineer for your company. And that happened. So I was assistant professor there, and like I would spend some time to giving consulting to the company that I was working before. And then later on, I took up on a new position as assistant professor of business and data analytics in State University of New York. And like, because it was COVID and the other university that I was working in, they haven't had resources to cover the courses that I was teaching. So I had to change to lecturer of big data analytics there, and just like communicate with my SUNY about that. Hey, this is the situation. And so I keep doing that, and I keep doing like 3 jobs at the time. And later on, it was like I was coming to a conclusion that where I could be more productive and more efficient. And so I decided to fully leave academia and joined Amazon as a data scientist. So, and my industry journey started there. I would say the previous were like previous jobs were sort of like try and error, but and at that moment I was pretty sure that that is what I want. And so if we move to other slides, I'll dive deep into that. So, and where I joined in Amazon, and currently I hold a position as a data scientist in customer trust and partner support team. So, which has a lot of teams underneath that, and like where my team falls on seller partner risk, and we focus mostly on seller side, and our team, like our org basically is like bad actor disincentives, and we call it BAD. And like in our team, we have a lot of like abbreviations such as BAD and SAD and MAD. So they are very like at the same time, it's trying to make Amazon safe, but it's very interesting names. And so I'm a data scientist in that team, which is a purely science team. And so what is the mission over there, like in our team, is to apply science techniques to make Amazon a safe place without bad actors. And bad actors means like those fraudulent actors or abusive actors. And we support Amazon's mission of being Earth's most customer-centric company by building analytical solution that can prevent bad actors from committing fraud on Amazon stores. But and just if I want to give an example of what projects I have worked with, it's very briefly, and like to avoid sharing confidential information, is we try to, for example, avoid money laundering through Amazon. And there are a lot of scenarios like nowadays that um, uh, there is a collusion between sellers and buyers. And I am a seller, and I put a rock in a box and I send it to a like buyer, and I was like, yeah, that price is $5,000. And like Amazon, since accepts like gift cards or like cash or so on, they can just simply clean up their money. So we build algorithms around that to detect those bad actors, and not only make Amazon safe place for sellers and buyers at the same time, but also like do our ethical part in avoiding such suspicious and malicious activities. That being said, just and like very little bit of how do I know I'm succeeding in my job, or how do I know if I am really doing what I'm supposed to do, is being evaluated, like not only from the leadership side, but also from my own perspective, is leadership principles. And leadership principles are like I have put it there, but there is two new leadership principle as well. That one of them is very interesting and new. It's like employer centric and the best employer on earth. And so like I evaluate myself from like ownership perspective. Do I really just what I do, it really matters for customer, and do I work backwards from the customer's need? And if we do so, how we deliver results, are those results in high standards or not? In my decision making process, do I have a bias for action, and or I am just like follower, and I am an executor versus owner? So, and that makes Amazon very challenging and very interesting to work. And it's learning curve. Like you learn every like something new every day, and that's what like is the most observing part, I would say. That every day I wake up with a mentality that I am going to learn something new today. So this is basically like very brief description of what I do and how things are working Amazon for a scientist. But like I would love to dive deep into that in like a AMA section, that you can ask me anything, and I can go deeper and say like how things works in like what is a daily job, like how much I spend on different tasks. So, but with this being said, I'll move to the next slide to focus more on like what was the questions in my head once I really wanted to uh, uh, go from academia to industry and start a new like sort of life at the same time as new career. So, and the very first question that might be
Hey, MK.
very yes.
I've got the slides up on my computer now. If Dr. Maroof wants to hand them over to me.
All right, great.
Just
Thank you, Dr. Maroof.
thank you, Dr. Maroof.
Sorry for the interruption, MK.
Yeah, sorry for the intro.
No worries, it's all good. So one of the things I might talk about it, it's like about presentation versus writing in Amazon. That in Amazon you won't get like you won't demo things with PowerPoint. Well, there are like a lot of drawbacks for that, but let's see if we'll get to that point. And we were 10 minutes late. I'll try to wrap up in Maybe 20 minutes. So we have 20 minutes for questions. So yes, and as I mentioned, like always you want to do something new, you have questions. You need to have those check marked before you make that decision. And that thought process was the same for me. And the very first question was, should I leave my comfortable academic career and take the leap into the unknown and mysterious world of data science? And nowadays, everyone want to be data scientists from every technological perspective and knowledge perspective and major and so on. And and I was like, yes, in academia, I know exactly, just like there is a straight road ahead. But like getting into data science, is that a straight road? Is that what are the threats? What are the opportunities there? And as I spent more than 5 years as PhD student and assistant professor of business in different schools, and just and it was a challenge, but I said, well, it is a time to make a change, and to see what are the threats and opportunities coming with that change, and I should be very mindful of those before I make a very solid decision. And one other question was, well, yes, in academia, we do write a lot of papers, we do a lot of research, and but do I have a real proper technical education and training for that data science, which is very and in next slide I will point it out, very different. In the list of things that I had to know, it was just not just to know. It was preferable also 5+ years of experience doing seem to never end. And it's with these job descriptions, put 5 years and plus experience. It's just, it makes it magnifies it for you that how difficult it would be. The people I will be working, and it will be maybe challenging to be in the same page and read each other mind, understand each other. So, and the list of those things that you needed to know, it was Python, this, Spark, that, Hadoop, that, and spiking neural nets, random forest Bayesian inference, and hundreds of other skills and softwares. And it was a question: do I pass these bullet points? Do I check mark them and say, well, I'm good? So please, next slide. So, and the other question is just I break it down, and from those two, I came to this point. Everybody was talking about Python and coding, and so I asked this question: have I taken as many Python courses required for data science? I felt really confused and a bit terrified when I started going through the job adverts for different data science positions. And also, it was not only list of the things apparently were needed to know to land on a data science position. It also was the feeling that I did not know what was important and what skills first improve and develop. And then there were the unknowns and things I don't know. And those were very terrifying. Next slide, please. So, and then I said, okay, these questions maybe disappoint me and not let me just follow that journey. So let me see, how can I prepare for the data science role? And then go back to those questions and answer them, and then make a decision. So from an experience perspective, the best way to prepare and to learn about the positions, about the academic industry job, is to learn and to reach out to people that work in the industry and ask them about the goals, what is important for their companies, and then And this does not necessarily need to be data scientists. If you're looking for a data science position, it's yes, it's that your title will be data scientist. You'll be working with a lot of people, such as program managers, product managers, software development engineers, managers, and technical program managers, and so on. And also, like, they are good source of truth for like what they expect from a data scientist if they want to execute a project. What is their mental model and what they think of data scientists, and that can make life more easier, other than like technical perspective from that. So also for new PhD students or master students, it's good to think about how data science can play a role and how to implement those solutions, and how what would be the architecture of like data science solutions. And it's not all about data structures, it's not all about Python capabilities, and it's all about different things as well, such as understanding the problem. And you got to ask yourself, what kind of knowledge would I need to make that happen? And how can I use what I know from my time in academia to make that happen? So these are very important questions, because every one of us at the stage of looking for a job, we are in process of learning how to code, and adding taking online courses, and working on the same old data sets that it's just not really related to like real world use cases. And just it gives you somehow inflated confidence that yes, I took this course and I am ready to go. But is that really what makes you a great data scientist? Is that really makes you to be seen as a data scientist in like different organization and different companies? So next slide, please. So, and a very little bit about research in academic world from my perspective and from my understanding, and what is it, and why it is different from industry, and what are the like limitation, I would say, in terms of knowledge once you do only research compared to you move to industry and business. So like always, I think I thought about this while I was transitioning, is like when we do research at university, we are doing our master thesis or writing a paper as a PhD student, there are basically three goals you want to achieve. And the most important part is always, and your advisor will ask you that question, is the novelty. And you might wrote a lot of papers, and like the first line of or second line of your abstract was, we implemented a novel method too, right? And so that is like, if you weigh in, it's very important to how to find that novel idea to build upon that. And so, which means the solution to the problem we are working on should have some novelty to it. Otherwise, you'll merely try to publish. If you try to publish that, and first thing will reviewer look at that is like, is it novel? And is someone else has already done it? Which seldomly succeeds, and it's a really bad way of conducting research. This is my opinion. So like Dr. Maruf can add a whole lot of things in there, but this is my opinion, and I just want to accentuate that here. And the second part is like method must have an edge. Means like a proposed solution needs to be superior to the competing methods. So again, I'm going to go back to the papers that we wrote. We benchmark against 30 different methods or 2 different methods in like based on the problem's nature. And at least in one major aspect, maybe it's be the highest accuracy or lowest complexity or performing better in some edge cases. small scenarios, medium scenarios, large scenarios, or like this tackles this problem, addresses this challenge, and so on. You should literally have that edge. Other than that, it's going to be very difficult to be published, and you definitely need to show that your method has an edge compared to the state-of-the-art methods already published. And the third part is, if you move to the next slide, persuasion. And what this really means in like academic world is like you need to write a report paper that convince the reviewers, opponents, or examiners that you have done to show that what you have done fulfills the two other requirements. The main focus here is on introducing the problem, describing what has been done before, present and derive your solution, and show the results and compare it to competing methods. So, is this really what you will be doing in industry? You can, and that's what I said, reach out to the people who work in industry to see what their daily life looks like. Do really they do this, right? But by the way, I just want to like mention this here that I am talking about data scientists, and we have roles are as a research scientist, and somehow like between that applied scientist, so that like they might have a different perspective, but I am just comparing from a data science perspective. So like don't be confused that in industry there is no research. I mean, the research is different, but I'll get to there. And if you succeed in all three of these, you're more likely to get your paper published and be able to present your work. This is the final goal of any work in academic research, in my opinion. So that's what we aiming for, what we targeting, like after maybe a year being in as a PhD student. And from like, if you are in academic career, like as a professor, and that might extend to some other aspects as well, that how your research has a demand, and if it is really something you'll get fund for it from like funding agencies, and that becomes I would say more difficult. So, and let's go see what this looks like in industry, and let's get some comparison going here. And if you move to the next slide, I would just break down these three things that I think are very important once we put these two things together and we want to compare. So first thing first, in industry, the goals are completely different. And the company is not going to admire you and just you published a paper, like you published one paper, how many in a year? So they will give you a prize for it? I don't think so. That might be it. You publish a paper, but you solve the problem in that company. Yes, that is a different scenario. But the only thing that really matters is how much value you can create for the company. This is a very strong statement, but it's not exactly what it is. But just I wanted to a little bit like emphasize this, that novelty. No one cares about novelty. Like they do, but I think in fact at the end of the day, that's the least thing they care about. And if anything, novelty is often seen as a waste of time. Means why you spend days on creating something new when you can just import a Python package that kind of solves the problem. Well, this is where nobody cares about that, like novelty. The existing method is like yours is slightly different. You can build upon it and make changes accordingly, but you don't want to just start that from scratch, right? And if you do, it's just you are not like, from Amazon perspective, it's like, it's not frugality. And that's one of the important leadership principles. Now, this sounds terribly boring for a researcher, right? That I'm just, well, I'm gonna sit and like solve problems, but nothing new will come to me. And like everybody has said, what? I won't be able to make my own methods, my own solutions? And it becomes very like confusing, and it's sometimes can be very frustrating that like some PhD students or PhD graduates think, yeah, I just worked 4 years, 5 years of my life to just write papers, implement new things, and now I'm going to just apply it, or just like focus on some basic stuff, or maybe like complicated that I have nothing to do with it, just I'm using it. And yeah, actually you will, but you don't need to create things from scratch, and you may cherry pick whatever solution or part of a solution you want and find the best. In academia, many times you need to do some mental gymnastics to create a new method. You can use solution X in your approach, because then the reviewers might not deem your method novel enough, even though solution X is the best. It's possible, right? You take some problem and use case, and you want to solve it, and at the end of the day you get this point, well, my implemented method doesn't perform as good as KNN, so then what? I can't publish that, right? But in industry, this is not a restriction, this is not a constraint. You may have full freedom to pick and choose from all the available solutions you can find, and what you pay in return is the loss of complete freedom in choosing your own problem to solve. So these are like, if we should think realistically once we want to choose our career, right? And know what we want. Maybe I just never want to just like work on something somebody have developed. I want to just do something new and change the world, right? But like the path you choose can like disturb you when it comes to these kind of things. So please, next slide. So, and again, we talked about method has an edge in academia, and let's think about this from an industry perspective. Companies like to brag about how good they are at machine learning and AI, but the truth is a bit different, right? You see like a lot of even papers being published from like FANG, or like Facebook, Amazon, and Apple, Nvidia, and Google, right? And that's just I call it show off. They want to just like brag about it, like we have the best AI tools in our company. Granted, most companies really want to be the best in what they do, but if they have to choose between having the best model or increase revenue, I would argue they opt for the latter any day of the week. And what I mean by this is that a company only needs to be better than its competitors, right? But better is not only measured in accuracy, F-score, precision, recall. This is often much more complex than that. If you can solve a problem to 80% accuracy, maybe that is good enough to convince the customers to buy your product instead of the competitor's solution. Maybe their product is actually better in accuracy, like any machine learning metrics you would think of, but that might actually not matter when your company has a cheaper product, a nicer homepage, a more aggressive advertisement, or has already locked into the customer in its fancy and expensive ecosystem. In that case, your model only needs to be good enough. Thus, the word better is much broader term in the industry than in academia, and it involves more aspects than usually considered when doing research in academia. So we always want to say superior, outperforms, but maybe in industry you say it's good enough. It is maybe like you'll move toward better, but maybe you'll move to superior too, based on your competitor, right? I would say that like for us in Amazon, it's not competitor, it's customer. And customer satisfaction is the priority. Maybe some others care about the competitors. So, and the last part in the next slide would be persuasion. What persuasion looks like in industry. And this is really important in the industry, but aimed at a completely different audience. It's not going to reviewer. It's not going to just NSF panelists. It's most likely you'll find yourself trying to convince your boss. Your boss is who like you should persuade. The sales team or your coworkers that the work you want to do will create the most value. It could also be escape assignment that you do not believe will create any value. Basically, your audience will most likely be people inside the company. Of course, some data science position will deal with external stakeholders. But again, this will also be quite different from academia. For instance, if you are trying to convince a customer to buy your product, you most likely won't get very far talking about the technical details. And this is like also a very important factor in Amazon about communication. And as I said, data scientist works with a lot of business owners, like inside the company, and you can't just talk about convolutional neural networks, and you cannot talk about like how backpropagation made this model perform accurately. Instead, it's all about how to create value for customer and in turn for the company you work for. And these are the main pain points in pinpoints and focus points for industry data scientists. And then the last slide will be about like, okay, now I thought about this. Academia and industry are different. Okay, now what? So we should not panic here, right? Coming from academia, you are armed with many useful tools. You probably know exactly how to apply these tools to your research at university. The same tools are without a doubt useful in the industry as well, however, in different way. To become successful in the industry, you need to recalibrate your skills. And the first step in the process, as I said, understand the goals, the targets, and what companies operating on in the field of data science. It is very easy to become myopic when it comes to what is important, and it is not uncommon that we tend to overestimate the importance of what we already know. So I'll open the floor for FAQ, AMA, Q&A, whatever it's common. So, and I think this will be the most useful part for you all, and other than listening to boring slides. But yeah, and I think let's get started on that.
MK, great presentation. If you don't mind, maybe I can start with a few questions.
For sure.
So one of them actually is about that leadership principle questions. I know that I was familiar with that 14 leadership principles, but I didn't know that there were 2 recently added. So thank you for actually bringing this up. My question is that those who will be going to Amazon, I think Amazon strongly test that based on that leadership principle question. how the students, they can prepare better for those leadership questions?
Yes, that's a great question, and it's very important for Amazon to find somebody who is aligned with the leadership principles and also better than 50% of current employees. So it's to be prepared for those. Like there are two kind of people. How to prepare for that? It's one set of people, they just wanna like read those and make stories about like what is bias for action, right? And then you wanna say like, if you write a novel, that how can I prove that I have a bias for action? But the second set of people who are the most successful people in Amazon interviews are those using their real life experiences and mapping them to leadership principles. And all of us, being master student or PhD student, we have challenges doing research. We have challenges communicating with people. We have challenges not being able to deliver on the time we were supposed to, right? And use STAR method, use situation, task, action, result method to bring those real stories to Amazon's leadership principles. And then if there is any follow-up questions afterwards, yes, you'll be able to put yourself in that real situation and convey that message and feeling you had at the moment. And if you are being very artificial in that sense, it's easy for the interviewer to get that feeling that you want to get the job. You don't really care what kind of job you are signing into. So, and that would be my recommendation, that think about it. If you are getting ready and you're preparing for Amazon interview, write down all your challenges, successes, and the important points while from like the time you internship somewhere, you work somewhere, you were graduate research assistantship, and put those and see which of those leadership principle it fits into.
That's great, MK. I think for the audience who are not familiar with the, I guess you may familiar, but if you are not familiar with the leadership principles, just to let you know is that, again, MK is the right person to talk more. But in general, Amazon heavily evaluate a candidate based on their leadership principle. Again, MK is the right person to talk more about that. So if you ever get into any kind of like interviews, then you really have to strongly prepare for those leadership principle questions. So I think MK was in maybe in your slide 3 or 4, one of those slides you were talking about those leadership principles. Maybe another question, MK. So for, you are working now, Amazon, which of course they are one of the, the best, of course, in our business right now. How do you see the load? Do you also experience through the academic career? You are also now working. You also have worked in Tuffy, right? In Tuffy, if I one of the companies.
Yes.
So how's the load with respect to the startup company that you had in Amazon right now, in academia? So all in all, if you can give a quick overview so the students also can get a flavor.
Yeah, I'll talk about two things here, but I just see somebody, if you have other question, is there any email address? Yes, I will definitely share my email address like at the end of the presentation. So you can reach out to me and I'll definitely be happy to answer those questions. And going back to Dr. Maruf's question about like, Amazon heavily focuses on leadership principles, and that's been sometimes confused with that they don't care about technical perspective, but no, there is a formulation over there that the technical aspects also needs to be evaluated according to those leadership principles. And you might say, I'm going to talk about like more behavioral question. No, that's not how it works. It's literally you'll get to a project that you worked and those leadership principle questions will rise. And the second question, if I remember correctly, it's about work-life balance. So yesterday we had our all hands meeting, and the new, like not new now, the CEO of Amazon is like talked about that, like work-life. He mentioned about some other words, not balance, but his like opinion was very interesting to me, and that is, yes, if you want to work 12 hours a week, hours a day, you can. And if you want to work 6 hours a day, you can as well, right? But how that will be mapped into your efficiency and the work you do. All it matters is get the work done, right? And just that nobody will come to you and give you that work-life balance. That's as simple as it is, I can say. Nobody will just tell you work 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day, your manager or your director or whatever. That's you, that you'll decide how you want to handle that. And like comparing Amazon with my previous company, maybe like I was in different roles, but I can tell you that like I never felt I am missing any part of my life that I supposed to like do, right? Do things in that, play tennis, go hiking, go skiing. I did all while I was at both. But who did that? I always point to myself. I did it, right? And maybe if you are feeling you're being burnt out, it means that maybe you gotta be evaluated about like the position you are in, right? You might say, well, is this a right job for me or not? And also the great thing about Amazon here is like you can transfer internally and people will understand like if you were in that position, you were not happy because you could do better after 6, 7 months. In this perspective, you're welcomed and you can switch. So in yeah, my answer to that will be like no company has a fine limit of work-life balance. It's you that draw the line.
Okay, well, MK, thank you. I think I'll let the students maybe to give a floor to ask more questions. But MK, I need to leave and just want to say thank you one more time for having your time today. And hopefully we'll be able to see you again. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, pleasure is mine, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hi, MK. I have a question for you. So while you're working as a data scientist, are you working with other people within the company? For like example, like are you working on like with like industry experts, like or buyer experts to help you like understand like the domain knowledge a little bit better for your machine learning projects?
Yes, well, I'll answer that question from two perspectives. One, there are a lot of resources in Amazon you can grow from a technical perspective. You can take courses. We have Amazon Machine Learning Accelerator, which is a like university. So you go and sign up and you take the course, and it's online university. And the second is like, yes, as a data scientist, you'll be working. I personally, right now, I work like with more than like 4 or 5 senior product managers or program managers, and they their job is to make you understand and define the problem that you are trying to solve from a data science perspective. And yes, you get a lot of aid to understand the problem. And this tendency should be from both sides. They want to make you understand, and you as a data scientist, you want to understand. And if as a data scientist, if you don't try that part to understand, that is the biggest hurdle you'll face as a data scientist. Because business understanding is very important. You can just solve, there is Occam razor, I use it a lot. It's called among the most sophisticated solution, the simplest one is the best. And if you understand that business problem, you might apply the simplest method. But if you don't, even though you try the most sophisticated models and rules, you won't be able to. So I think in long story short, yes, you get a lot of aid, and they are available for you to make you understand the problem.
Okay. And then for like some of the machine learning models you might be using, are there like certain softwares you guys work on it together, or like is there certain like cloud-based systems that you guys are using?
Yes, like in Amazon, we have multiple resources for machine learning. So, like some of you might be aware, Amazon acts like a lot of startups come together, right? And our basically we have different teams. And for example, we have a team called CMLS, Core Machine Learning Services, and for sure they are like designed based on AWS, and you can use their services for your training and so on. But you have your cloud desktop that you can just increase the like computational power and so on and so forth based on your use case. And there are a lot of services that I can answer that, and they are built for data science. They serve the data scientists to be more successful and more efficient.
Okay, thank you. I do have one last question. I was wondering if you could speak about a little bit about like the application process for when you were applying. Like, did you have to take a test to show that you had the proper skills, anything like that? Or like how many interviews did you have to go through?
Yeah, it's just a interesting thing is like I was looking for an academic job, and if I say my journey really for industry started from like the time that I applied for a job for Amazon. I had 3 interviews, and just like again, like you have academic job, you are not worried about like if I get the job tomorrow or like 6 months later, right? And so my main goal was like 3 companies, Amazon, Meta, and Google, and I got 2 offers, and I accepted one. And so, but that's not how it works. So, like as I said, my scenario was different. But if I would start from like applying for industry job from academic, like finishing up my PhD or master, I might take as much as interviews I can. First, I can make best informed decision that which company I want to work for. And second, like if you don't interview, you don't learn. And don't be upset if you just messed up a couple of interviews at the beginning. Nobody aces all the interviews, and so I would not say like there would be like a specific limit that hey, take 20. No, just put your goals and see which company aligns with your interests and your skills, and go for them and apply for any job that it really grabs your attention. And then later on, you might get called from them, you might not, but that shouldn't disappoint you. And that's a very frustrating time of your life, but it's okay. You got to be patient, and patience is very important.
Okay, thank you for sharing. That was very informative. Let's see if anyone else had any questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I did have one question. So I'm going through the application processes. And I've seen online that people recommend putting a GitHub link of different things that you have done. Like if I've made a GANs or a recurrent neural network, having it all in a GitHub to prove that I can. Is that something that I should make, or is that not really necessary to have that portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, just my answer to that question would be, yeah, it's helpful, but you're gonna see like how much helpful it is. And like I have done interviews like a lot of times in the I interviewed the candidate, but to be honest, like I never go look at the like I look at the CV and there is a GitHub link, and while I'm interviewing, maybe I go and click on that link and just skim through it. But like it's good to have. It's a line of resume that it's good to have, but I can't say 100% that is very helpful or it's not helpful at all. And it depends on different interviewers and different like uh, filtering out process from the recruiter side. Maybe that would help in once recruiter is going through your CV. But like more, what it matters is like whenever they are interviewing you, they are asking about that. That's how they evaluate how much knowledge you got in that area, like in uh, adversarial neural network or so on, recurrent neural network. So they that's more. I would say that's more important. Yes, if you really do things, why you shouldn't show it? Yeah, show it, but be prepared to be questions for those.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any more questions for MK? I think that's about it. But on behalf of the Informed Student Chapter, I'm happy that you came and presented to us and shared your knowledge.
Yeah, it's
we appreciate it, and good luck to good luck to you.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great to be with you all today, and I ask any students if they really had any questions, any concerns, and any like guidance as much as I can. Like, please don't hesitate to send me send me email here. I'm writing down here, and that is my most favorite email that you can reach out to me, and I still keep it. So, and that I'll be more than happy to share the information I have. And thank you, everyone, and hope you guys have a great evening in Starkville, Mississippi.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Mm-hmm.